Colton McKivitz got rolled up on, ankle, knee, don't know what it is. Sounds like a high ankle sprain when you say ankle and knee, but at the same time, they said he's day to day, not week to week. So that sounds like not a high ankle sprain. We'll find out more about Colton McKivitz's status as the week goes on. But if he can't go, what should the Niners do at right tackle? Should they play Matt Pryor, someone else?
Well, I mean, he was asked today about that. I think Barrows might ask the question, who's the guy who slides in? I would play Jaylon Moore. I think Jaylon Moore is their third best tackle. And I was not impressed by Pryor. Now, Pryor's got more NFL experience. And if you ask me how they have him kind of grouped on the depth chart, I think it's Trent is your number one left tackle. Jaylon Moore's your number two. Colton's your number one right tackle. I think Pryor's probably your number two. So they'll probably go with Pryor. I think I would go with Jaylon Moore.
I would go with Jaylon Moore too. And I think the only reason they wouldn't go with Jaylon Moore is if they actually didn't cross-train him to play on the right side. Like if he's just a left tackle. I know some offensive linemen are better on one side than another. And I think what the Niners wanted to do is have a backup left tackle in Jaylon Moore and a backup right tackle in Matt Pryor. But that's so silly. You want to get your best 5 offensive linemen on the field. And for the Niners, it's a big deal because they don't have that many good offensive linemen. I feel like Jaylon Moore probably should be starting at right tackle over Colton McKivitz regardless. But again, I don't know how many snaps he's actually taken at that spot. You were at training camp. I never saw him play right tackle in training camp.
And I asked Jaylon a couple of weeks ago where he feels more comfortable. And he's like, well, I've trained at both, but I probably feel more comfortable at left than right. So, maybe they feel like, I mean, for some guys make it seem like it's a huge deal. Like I couldn't possibly switch from left to right. But is that more?
Sewell had a big issue with that, right? Aaron Banks had an issue with that.
I believe in Cincinnati, Jonah Williams didn't want to. He balked at jumping from left tackle to right tackle. So, I mean, there are some guys that feel like you're almost playing, it's like right-handed versus left-handed. Other guys seem like they don't. It's not as big a deal. And at least in Jaylon Moore's situation, he said he felt comfortable at both spots. So, the nice thing is none of these guys are rookies. Pryor's not a rookie. Jaylon Moore's not a rookie. These guys have been in the NFL for a number of years, and they've had plenty of time to practice both spots.
It'd be nice for the Niners to start training Jaylon Moore to play right tackle because I think he's clearly better than Colton McKivitz. Clearly.
He's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a real tackle arm length, a little bit more of a tackle body. McKivitz, is assignment sound and is tough, but I kind of agree that I think Moore might be the bigger talent.
I also think Feliciano should be playing over Spencer Burford at right guard. That right side of the offensive line, I mean, I don't know if it's cost him games yet, but it's two guys. Spencer Burford, I don't understand why he starts. I think Feliciano is a better player than him, and I think Jaylon Moore is a better player than Colton McKivitz. I think they should be backups, those two.
It is interesting to me because if you ask me, last year, Burford shared right guard with Brunskill. And if you ask me who's the better player between Brunskill and Feliciano, it's Feliciano. There's no doubt in my mind. So why now suddenly Brunskill's gone, Feliciano's in, but Burford they gave the right guard to? I think they wanted to kind of force feed Burford that right guard spot. I'll tell you, I thought his push of McCaffrey yesterday was probably the best play he's had all year. I was talking about Burford. And then when Kyle was asked today, though, about Feliciano, he was totally non-committal. Like almost like the answer that he gave, Grant, almost made me think that he's not super pleased with any of his interior guys. And right now he's in for Banks, but when Banks gets back, he had a higher grade. He'll probably slide back into the starting spot. But I think it's like Shanahan could have said, I'm going to move him to center, or I'm going to use him at right guard. He was non-committal because I think he wants to hold all three of those guys' feet to the fire.
I mean, look, they just won 34-3. We're not here to just nitpick the Niners because they're doing well. But I'm not sure they have their 5 best offensive linemen on the field. Far be it from me to say I know better than Chris Forster, who I think is one of the more intriguing, bright, knowledgeable, experienced coaches in the league. I love Chris Forster, and I'll defer to him. But it's just like, Chris, come on, man. How? I don't get the Spencer Burford thing. To me, Spencer Burford and Drake Jackson are quite similar. Guys who were supposed to take a leap this year and didn't. Drake Jackson got buried, but Spencer Burford just gets ignored. There's no one better. I think Feliciano's better. I'd like to see it.
I kind of agree. Feliciano, by the way, had the highest graded, Pro Football Focus grade among all the
He's
offensive
good.
linemen yesterday, 81.7. He played 62 snaps, all 62 snaps. I thought Feliciano was one of the best pickups of the offseason. I mean, how many starting caliber interior linemen can you typically get to play backup on your line? I mean, the presence of Feliciano kind of reminds me of like the old school Niners where they had
Mhm.
all kinds of depth. So yeah,
He's
I
like
mean it's
Alex
a
Boone.
yeah, I mean it's a total luxury at him.
Yeah.
It's like having Jim Burt or Fred Smirlis as your backup nose guard to Michael Carter. It's like, are you kidding me? Or one year, didn't they have Bart Oates and Jesse Sapolu at center? So I mean, they've had big time depth in the past, but yeah,
How old was
Feliciano's.
I?
Yeah, you were, if alive, you might not have been
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. All right.
But Feliciano, I think is definitely going to play, and the question is, does he play center for Brendel, who's a little bit more dependable, but also kind of not as strong at the point, or does he play right guard for Burford, who has had a lot of problems avoiding penalties?